Hey everybody, Jonathan from North Georgia Airless. Today we are going to show you how to change the outlet manifold on an AR45. This is offered as a complete assembly. It's part number 43883. This is everything except for the ball valve and the adapter, the gauge of the adapter, and the control valve for the pressure side of this pump. So this is where the majority of your leaks are going to occur. You do not have to replace this as a whole. We also offer each individual piece separately as well, but this is a good item to have in your truck for a quick swap. I'm going to show you just how quick you can do this with just a couple of basic tools. For this, we need a flathead screwdriver, a ratchet with a 13mm socket, torque wrench to put everything back together. We do recommend anti-seize, and then any O-rings that you disturb, white lithium grease. In this case, I'm really not going to have a whole lot. There's only going to be three spots that I'll need the white lithium grease, but that is always a good idea to have, as well as a paper towel and some water, not just to clean up with. So, I'm going to show you real quick how to go through this. What we're going to use the paper towel for, in each one of these heads, there are some nuts that can slip out and fall out. So I'm going to use this paper towel after I wet it. There's some slots on the head right here for the nut, and I'm just going to shove that up in there and use it to hold the nuts in so that they don't fall out. It's a little bit tricky on the bottom side here to get these in. Hopefully this is going to make our life a lot easier on the reassembly side. Alright, so that is in there. I'm going to pull these little accessory pieces off while they're real easy to get to right here. Sometimes these clips fall out, sometimes they're a little harder to get out. Pop those out. I'm going to remove the gauge. Going to remove this outlet. The control valve. The two most important parts of this after you remove the valve, you do have a ceramic plunger, and there's a washer inside here as well as an O-ring. The new assembly does not come with that O-ring. That is a separate part. And the most common phone call we get after these things have been changed are that O-ring and that washer. So, once we have that out, we're ready to actually remove the manifold. There's 9 bolts around the outside of this manifold. Take just a minute to get all these suckers out. Now you do want to be mindful of which position these bolts are in. These inside bolts are a different length than the outside, but it should be pretty obvious. You have 6 one length, 3 of another. pops off, just as simple as that. So we have nothing left but just the bolts here. Check valves are all in place while you do have this off. Would take a quick look at these check valves. They're very easy to remove. Just pop them out, seal in there, around them as well, pop back in, make sure those are all good to go. New manifold, new bolts. Make sure you get the washers back in place. We do occasionally see some installation issues on these manifolds. Several areas you want to be very, very careful with as you go back together with these. Number one, these things don't always fit in just perfect with the heads immediately. We'll see how this one does. So it's not quite perfect on there. Gently make sure that thing is in place. What you don't want to do is you don't want to be tightening down the bolts and using the bolts to pull these things in. That is a way that you will end up cracking these brand new manifolds. With a little patience, they'll get on in there. And we are now all seated in all the way around and ready to go back together. So I'm going to take these, I'm going to start all these. These two bolts at the bottom, these are the ones that we had the towel in there for. So hopefully these things are going to pull right back in there and line up. Looks like we are pulling right on in there. Start with those just so I have that out of the way. Now with my regular ratchet, I'm just gonna gently get these things not even super snug. Looks like we may have one. Side so we get to this one just a little bit better. These are generally going to be your two most aggravating bolts out of them. Couple of others started on in. Oh, on these right here, these are going back into an aluminum casting. So these are going to be the three that I would recommend some anti-seize on. Now, some people use grease, some people use anti-seize. There is some difference in opinion on this because of the bleach. Bleach and anti-seize do not get along so great. So on the coupling between the gearbox and the motor, I recommend using like a marine grease. On these, I feel like we get the best results when we just use the standard anti-seize. So that's the route I'm going to go on this one. This stuff's available at basically any auto parts store. It's probably going to be your best bet as far as finding at Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards. We'll also have it as well. And once again, as you're tightening these up initially, do not go crazy. That is a really big deal, at least in this plastic on plastic where the check valves are. And those 6 bolts, that's where everything's going to be the most susceptible to issues. get a little real world stuff on here. These are not all playing super nice as far as lineup and everything, and you know, that's something that you're gonna run into at times, especially when you're out on a job. It's super easy to get, you know, aggravated and frustrated with some of these, and you know, I may even have to pull this paper towel out at times. The trick works well most of the time, but not every time. I'm actually going to try to just poke it a little further in first before I got one. I just weren't snapped in there far enough, I think. There I am, wanting to go too tight already. Alright, at this point we're going to take our torque wrench and we're going to do these in a crisscross pattern. I'm going to start right here. I'm set to 90 inch-pounds. When it comes to the torque wrench, don't feel like you got to go buy something super fancy. This particular torque wrench is a Harbor Freight torque wrench, right at 20 bucks, just a 1/4 inch drive for inch pounds. That's going to be your biggest thing though. If you want inch pounds, go back around, just double check everything. That one. Alright, so our outlet manifold, everything is on except for these last couple pieces that were our first remove. So I'm going to get some white lithium grease. Don't have to put a whole lot on there. This has still got some on from the factory, but just a light coating around this gauge. I'm going to go ahead and coat the rest of these while I got the grease out, and then I'll go back from there. Drop this O-ring in the top, little groove it sits down in. It'll be very obvious where it sits. The washer that I said not to forget, it will not work without that. The ceramic piston, which you can actually sit that down on top of the washer. It'll kind of lock in there, make installing it a little easier. Pop that together. All these things, you'll kind of feel them pop in. It is much easier to fit these or get these things to pop together when you have grease involved. No grease, this will not be nearly as easy. These side fittings, there are little alignment tabs that you do have to have lined up to get everything to sit back in there properly. All right, that has everything back together. Matter of just a few minutes. Is something you can do on a job site. Basic hand tools, Harbor Freight torque wrench, stuff I would keep in my truck if I were y'all. Again, Jonathan with North Georgia Airless. All stuff we have in stock. If y'all need it, give us a holler. Part number 43883 on the AR45. Y'all have a good day.